My name is Sophia Chin and I never planned on becoming a millionaire. I just wanted my parents to be proud of me. Growing up in our modest suburban home, I watched them pour everything into their small travel agency, dreaming of breaking into luxury tourism. But no matter how hard I worked or what I achieved, it was never enough for them. A 98% on your math test? Why not 100%? My mother would say, barely glancing at the paper. Emily Wong got perfect scores and she's learning violin. That pattern continued through high school and into college. When I got accepted to Stanford Business School, my father's only response was, "At least it's not your safety school." When I graduated with honors, they skipped the ceremony because a potential client had requested a meeting. I understood their dedication to their business. Golden Path Travel had been their dream for 20 years. They'd started with nothing, building it from a tiny office in Chinatown into a respectable agency. But they wanted more. They desperately wanted to break into luxury travel, to book private jets and exclusive resorts for wealthy clients. That dream consumed them, leaving little room for anything else, especially their underachieving daughter. After graduation, I made what they considered my biggest disappointment. Instead of joining their agency, I took an entry-level position at a private aviation startup. A secretary? My mother had practically shrieked when I told them. "We didn't send you to Stanford to be a secretary." "It's not a secretary position, Mom," I tried to explain. "I'm a business development associate dash." "Same thing," my father cut in. "You're just answering phones and getting coffee for real business people." What they didn't know, what I couldn't tell them, was that I had a plan. The startup Sky Elite Aviation was revolutionary. They were developing an app that would make private jet booking as easy as ordering an Uber. I saw the potential immediately and so did my bosses. Within 6 months, I was leading client acquisitions. By year 2, I was the youngest director in company history. I worked 18-hour days, learned everything I could about private aviation, and built relationships with Silicon Valley's elite. But I told my parents nothing. Every time they asked about work, I gave vague answers about still being at that little aviation company. Why? Because I wanted to succeed on my own terms. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it without their connections or their approval. Then came the day that changed everything. I was in my office, no longer a cubicle but a corner suite with a view of the San Francisco Bay, when my assistant buzzed me. "Miss Chen, your parents' agency is trying to schedule a meeting. They have a potential client who wants to discuss private jet services." My heart stopped. Golden Path Travel was reaching out to Sky Elite. After 3 years of dismissing my job as just answering phones, they were now potential partners? "They specifically requested our CO," my assistant continued. "Should I tell them Mr. Davidson is out of town?" I sat back in my chair, a slow smile spreading across my face. Mr. Davidson wasn't just out of town, he had retired 2 months ago. The board had appointed his successor immediately. Me? "No," I said, my finger hovering over the intercom. "Schedule them for tomorrow morning. But don't tell them who they're meeting with." "Are you sure?" my assistant asked, knowing my complicated history with my parents. "Absolutely," I replied. "And Sarah? Make sure the champagne in the executive lounge is properly chilled. I have a feeling we're going to need it." That night I barely slept, imagining tomorrow's meeting. Would they be proud when they discovered my success? Would they finally see me as more than a disappointment? Or would they just try to take credit for my achievements, claiming their tough love had driven me to succeed? As I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling of my Marina District apartment, I realized something. It didn't matter anymore. I wasn't that desperate to please daughter anymore. I was Sophia Chen, CEO of Sky Elite Aviation, and tomorrow, I would finally show my parents exactly who their disappointment had become. Little did I know, tomorrow would bring more drama than even I could have anticipated. The next morning, I arrived at Sky Elite's headquarters early, taking extra care with my appearance. My dark blue power suit was perfectly tailored, my makeup subtle but flawless. I wanted to look every inch the CEO I had become. At 9:55 a.m., my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Your 10 o'clock is here. Your parents are accompanied by Mr. James Winston." I froze. James Winston? The billionaire tech investor my parents had been trying to land as a client for years? This meeting was bigger than I'd thought. "Send them to the executive lounge," I instructed. "I'll be there in 5 minutes." Through the glass walls of my office, I watched as Sarah led them into our newly renovated executive lounge. The space screamed luxury floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, handcrafted furniture, and a bar stocked with top-shelf spirits. My parents looked almost comically out of place, my mother in her modest dress and my father in his slightly outdated suit. But Mr. Winston, he belonged. Tall, distinguished, wearing a casual outfit that probably cost more than my parents' monthly rent, he carried himself with the easy confidence of the truly wealthy. I took a deep breath and stepped out of my office. "I'm so sorry," I heard my mother saying as I approached. "The CEO is running a few minutes late. I'm sure they're very busy. Actually," I said, stepping into the room, "I'm right on time." The look on their faces was priceless. My mother's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, hitting the hardwood floor with a crash. My father's jaw literally dropped. Mr. Winston just looked intrigued. "Sophia," my mother whispered, "what are you doing here? Where is the CEO?" "You're looking at her," I said calmly, extending my hand to Mr. Winston. "Sophia Chin, CEO of Sky Elite Aviation. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Winston." He shook my hand firmly, a smile playing at his lips. "The pleasure is mine. Though I'm getting the impression there's quite a story here." "Impossible," my father sputtered. You can't be The CEO?" I finished for him, moving behind the bar to pour fresh champagne. "I was appointed 2 months ago, after leading Sky Elite's expansion into Asia and tripling our client base in under a year." Mr. Winston's eyebrows shot up. "That was you. I read about that expansion in Forbes. Brilliant strategy, using local influencers to normalize private aviation among young tech entrepreneurs." My mother's face had gone from shocked to calculating. I could practically see the wheels turning in her head, trying to figure out how to spin this to their advantage. "Oh yes," she jumped in, her voice syrupy sweet. "We always knew Sophia would do well. That's why we encouraged her to take that entry-level position. We saw the potential in this company. Mom," I cut her off firmly. "Don't." The room fell silent. Mr. Winston glanced between us, clearly fascinated by the family drama unfolding before him. "For 3 years," I continued, my voice steady, "you've called my job a disappointment. You've told relatives I was just a secretary. You've dismissed every accomplishment, every promotion, every success I've had here." "We were just trying to motivate you," my father protested weakly. "No," I said, setting down my champagne glass. "You were trying to control me. You wanted me to join your agency to live out your dreams instead of my own. And now that you see what I've built without you, you want to pretend you supported me all along." Mr. Winston cleared his throat. "Perhaps I should give your family some privacy. "No need," I said, straightening my jacket. "This is a business meeting after all. You came to discuss private aviation services, yes? Let me show you what Sky Elite can offer." I pulled out my tablet and opened our presentation, but my parents weren't done yet. What happened next would change our family dynamic forever. As I began walking Mr. Winston through our services, my mother made one last desperate attempt to regain control. "Sophia," she interrupted, her voice sharp. "This is our client. We brought him here. You can't just Actually, Mrs. Chen," Mr. Winston cut in smoothly, "I believe your daughter is exactly who I need to speak with." He turned to me. "I've been following Sky Elite's innovations for months. Your app-based booking system is revolutionary. But I had no idea the CEO was so young." "Young but experienced," I replied, maintaining eye contact. "I've personally overseen over 10,000 private flights and developed our client portfolio from scratch." My father, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. "If you're really the CEO, then why didn't you tell us? Why let us believe you were just a low-level employee?" I turned to face him, feeling strangely calm. "Would you have believed me? Or would you have accused me of lying like you did when I made honor roll? When I got into Stanford? When I Enough," my mother snapped. "You're embarrassing us in front of Mr. Winston." "No, Mrs. Chen," Mr. Winston interjected. "Your daughter isn't embarrassing anyone. In fact, she's rather impressive." He turned to me. "I came here today because I was interested in booking private jets for my tech conferences. But now I'm thinking of something bigger. Sky Elite could be the perfect partner for my entire corporate fleet." My parents' expressions shifted from embarrassment to shock as Mr. Winston continued. How does an exclusive contract sound? All my company's private aviation needs handled by Sky Elite. We're talking about 200 plus flights annually minimum. I maintained my professional composure, but inside my heart was racing. This would be our biggest contract yet. We would be honored, Mr. Winston. Shall we discuss the details in my office? As we stood to leave, my mother made one final play. We should all discuss this together as a family dash. Mom, I said firmly, this isn't a family discussion. This is business. And in this building, I'm not your disappointing daughter. I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. Mr. Winston followed me to my office, leaving my parents standing in the lounge, their reflections visible in the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking smaller somehow, diminished. 2 hours later, after signing the biggest contract in Sky Elite's history, I returned to find them still there. My father was sitting with his head in his hands, my mother staring out at the bay. Sophia, my father said quietly, we were wrong. Yes, you were. Can you forgive us? My mother asked, turning to face me. I walked to the bar and poured 3 glasses of champagne. I don't know, I said honestly. But maybe we can start over. Not as the disappointed parents and the failure daughter, but as equals. I handed them each a glass. To new beginnings? They took the glasses, and for the first time in years I saw something new in their eyes. Not disappointment, not calculation, but respect. To new beginnings, they echoed. As we stood there sipping champagne and looking out over the bay, I realized something important. Success wasn't about proving them wrong, it was about proving myself right. I had built this life on my own terms, and no one, not even my parents, could take that away from me. That evening, as I sat in my office signing the final paperwork for Mr. Winston's contract, my assistant brought in a delivery, a huge bouquet of flowers from my parents. The card read simply, "We're proud of you." I smiled, placed the card on my desk, and got back to work. After all, I had a company to run.